Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. Today we're back with the High Elves. You know, it's chariot time. Figured it's been a while since we've had a TIRANOC chariot replay on the channel. This is one of my favorite High Elf units, I have to say. You guys, longtime viewers of the channel, will know I'm a huge fan of chariots, and for those of you guys who are relatively new, well, welcome to the show. I like chariots a lot, and against the Skaven in particular, who we're up against today, they are quite useful. So, let's have a look at the build here. We've got 3 TIRANOC chariots, we've got a noble on a chariot, we've got a high mage on a chariot. Tyrion, unfortunately, cannot bring a chariot, so he's just on a horse. We've got dragon princes, 4 units of spearmen, and 2 Illyrian reavers, one of which is the Regiment of Renowned Heralds of the Wind. For our Skaven opponents, a couple of gutter runner, just regular gutter runners with poison, the shuriken variant, a couple of rat ogres. We've got a line of clan rats, more clan rats, some Skaven slaves, a couple of poison wind globadiers, nope, just one poison wind globadier, and a warp fire thrower. Lord Scroll, warp lightning cannon with storm vermin protecting some more storm vermin over on the side. So yeah, battle's underway already. I did take a bit of fire there. That was a bit uncomfortable from those gutter runners, but I'm trying to skirmish out these rat ogres, see if I can catch them isolated from the rest of the army, and it does look like we may be able to do so. Meanwhile, I'm going over, one of you had mentioned arcane unforging can potentially blow up artillery models, so I'm going to go ahead and test that theory out because this warp lightning cannon is doing a lot of damage to my chariots, and it is most uncomfortable and also not at all very nice. So we're going to go ahead and pop that Arcane Unforging, and let's see what effect it has. As we can see in the distance there, the chariots are crashing into the flank of the Skaven line. And we'll check back in this artillery piece in just a minute, because I do want to soak up some of the beautiful shots of Skaven being run over by chariots, because, oh man, just look at that. Absolutely amazing. The Noble also coming in, being an excellent line breaker, just discombobulating this entire Skaven advance. That then allows us to catch out these Rat Ogres and finish them off. With that being the main priority here, because once these guys are offline, the chariots are relatively safe. And a lot of people, just as a quick aside here, I'm going to pop it into slow motion. People often ask me about, tips for micro and everything. Prioritization, target prioritization, and prioritizing which units you need your micro the most can be tricky to, to figure out. Do you prioritize the front line? Do you prioritize mobile units, heroic units, whatever? The way I typically like to approach it is in a matchup where there's an obvious threat to whatever I have that's going to win me the battle. In this case, I've got these chariots, right, that will pretty much run over 99% of the Skaven units. There are a handful of units that are a danger to them in this army. The Rat Ogres and the Warp Lightning Cannon are those two, so I'm prioritizing my micro for the most part to go after these units specifically, because once I have them offline, I can more or less just run over my opponent at will with my chariots. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and tie down these Poison Wind Globadiers. They are a bit of a threat, less so because of their relatively short range, but they are a bit of a threat. You can see we are starting to drop some chariots here. This TIRANOC chariot down to only 1 unit model. Unfortunately, because I wasn't able to pop Apotheosis there, they did get taken out, but you can see the chariot trying to pull these guys off their artillery crew and artillery pieces. Fortunately, that Arcane Unforging only blew up the one piece, which, is relatively useful, but we're going to go ahead and send those Illyrian Reaver archers over in just a minute, since the Storm Vermin that had been supporting went ahead and came over to this other pocket. You can see the Prince just continuing to break up the advance here and the regrouping Skaven, as there's a bit of a mainline engagement underway. A lot of the Spearmen getting bogged down by Clan Rats. These guys completely surrounded, which is just not great at all for them. But we just need these guys to hold the line for long enough. You can see Dragon Princes coming after these Gutter Runners here, trying to chase them down. Get some excellent damage done. Meanwhile, these spearmen up here continuing to hold the line. The chariots are just operating, kind of holding back a lot of the Skaven forces so that my spearmen don't get too swamped. I mean, the one unit here is surrounded. They are able to see off this just Skaven slaves on the one side. And, because they are able to stabilize there, we should be able to keep them relatively safe. And this is kind of the idea here, is because at the outset of the battle I was outnumbered, more than 3 to 1. I need to break up my opponent's advance so that my infantry, what few units of infantry I have, don't get completely, bogged down. You can see I did manage to take out the Warp Lightning Cannon there, so the threats to the chariots are for the most part offline. Unfortunately, I did miss Micro, the Noble, a little bit here. He got caught out by Lord Skrulk, probably took a Liber Bubonicus to the face, and is going to be routing off there. Yeah, Skrulk, of course, brought Liber Bubonicus. Warp Fire Throwers trying to re-secure here, get into a position where they can fire. I think they're actually maybe going after those Heralds of the Wind there, which is probably not great for me, but we are able to get some counterfire, which in and of itself might be enough to rout off this Warp Fire Throw. Indeed it is. But, yeah, Sunfang there I just missed on those Death Runners, but Tyrion now setting his sights on Lord Skrulk. He had enough of these shenanigans in the games. You know, the chariots are having a great time going off to the races, but it's time to get serious about finishing the battle here. So Tyrion's going to go after Lord Skrulk. You can see him riding across the field there as the mage on the chariot continues to just run over Skaven, and particularly the elf mages on the chariot. Very nice tool for a multitude of matchups. We're going to go ahead and throw another Arcane Unforging, this time directly on Skrulk, resetting his abilities, you know, giving him extra recharge time. Bit of a traffic jam here in the center as the Noble and the mage have a traffic accident, but they're both alright. I'm going to go ahead and just continue to carve through the lines here. And, you know, even against Storm Vermin, getting a rear side charge will still do quite a bit of damage on these chariots. Anti-infantry there. I believe the Noble actually has armor piercing, yep, on his chariot. So he came back from routing, thankfully. Has been able to help deal with some of these Gut Runners and other units here. So, yeah, things are looking pretty solid so far, I have to say. Dragon Prince is getting dragged down a little bit here, but they're still able to hold their leadership together. That physical resistance and high melee defense means that the Clan Rats probably won't do a whole lot to them. Death Runners are doing quite well against these Spearmen, but thankfully they're just fighting Spearmen. Tyrion, unfortunately, is in a bit of a bad situation. Surrounded by Storm Vermin, fighting Skrulk. You know, thankfully he's got great leadership, and I'm not too worried putting Apotheosis on him just to heal him up a little bit there. He does still have the Heart of Avalorn, which got changed so that it procs a bit earlier now. But, yeah, the main goal here was just to do as much damage to Skrulk as possible. We did do quite a bit of damage to him, so that has tipped the balance of power pretty well in my favor. You can see this one TIRANOC chariot here rallied. I was trying to knock over Skrulk before he got that summon off, but unfortunately I wasn't quite there. Does manage to get that Clan Rat summon off to try and surround this unit of Spearmen once more. You can see the High Elf Infantry is very tattered here, but still alive critically. Dragon Prince is also still alive. The High Mage, the Noble, got some chariots, the regular TIRANOC chariots online as well, so yeah, should be pretty decent. Heralds of the Wind come in to just be able to break Tyrion loose, even though it's not obviously great for them to fight Storm Vermin. Tyrion, I just want to go after Lord Skrulk, so he's going to ride in here, get a nice thrust to the back of the head, and Skrulk shouldn't be too much longer for this world. He really can't stand up to Tyrion. Oh, yep, now he's dead. So with the loss of Skrulk, that is going to immediately hit critical army losses for the Skaven, and it'll be game. So well played to my opponent. Hope you guys enjoyed watching that one. Yeah, chariots against the Skaven, always going to be brutal, and from the Skaven's perspective, that's why you want to try and play pretty conservative with your Rat Ogres. My opponent definitely got a little bit over-aggressive there in chasing the Reavers. I mean, he was almost able to catch them, but definitely should have pulled back to his infantry line and just kept them there to try and defend against the chariots. You know, only use them to countercharge the chariots, stop up their mass, and then when the chariots retreat, you pull your Rat Ogres back to safety. Easier said than done, certainly. It requires a bit of micro, but again, in terms of micro prioritization, from the Skaven's perspective, you know, okay, these chariots are a huge threat. I need to make sure that the Rat Ogres stay alive. My opponent did a great job focus firing with the Warp Lightning Cannon on the chariots, which was very important. Did manage to do a lot of damage there. But the Rat Ogres could have been a huge threat potentially, and if he had kept them in a bit of a more conservative position, had been able to really get his infantry swarm over the Spearmen would have rolled over pretty quickly, and then I would have just been stuck, you know, trying to cycle charge to death. And against a huge blob like this, easier said than done, especially if there are a few Rat Ogres in the middle of the blob, you know, stopping your charge every time, so you can't just punch straight through and go out the other side, because that's really what you want to do when you're using chariots. Try and always keep them on the move as much as possible. You know, you issue a charge order. As soon as they hit, you want to issue a move order to the other side or issue a charge order onto another unit so that they continue with their momentum. Especially against lighter units like the Skaven, it's definitely pretty effective. Against heavier infantry, like, for example, Orc Biggins, you know, What's another good example? Saurus warriors. A lot of dwarven infantry is quite heavy. It can be tricky to pull through with chariots, but because Skaven infantry is relatively light, it's pretty easy to just punch straight through and continue to raffle stomp the formation. So that's why rat ogres are so important in this matchup, and why protecting your rat ogres is also a very, very important point to remember. So hopefully you guys enjoyed watching. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.